Welcome to In the Scene, where I find out what it's like to actually be in the scene. Real quick about what I'm doing. I'm going to be interviewing people who are involved in either as performers or booking agents, potentially venues, and discussing what they're doing, how they got to where they are, the plan is to go. With other musicians, my hope has been to actually play like a cover or one of their songs with them as just like a background member, but technology has not been really allowing that. The first time was a shit show, to put it nicely. But anyway, the idea here is to do that. Quickly about me, I have been performing music for like 22 years or so. I'm trying to get back into the scene, and it's different after 7 years off. A lot different.
Yeah.
So I figured I'd talk to some people who are in it and kind of ask them how they did it so that maybe I could learn a thing or two. If it's all right with you, I thought we'd just jump right in.
Game. I'm good for that.
Awesome. So who the hell are you?
Um, we are 2/4 of, for lack of a term, an alt punk quartet. I think. Yeah, I think that's something to run with.
I'll go with it.
Yeah, an alt punk quartet. We've been around for a few years now.
All four of you, well, I mean, I know that you're only half the band right now, but I'm going to allow you to speak for the whole band if that's cool. Are you
Yes.
all from the New York tri-state area?
Yeah. Me, Arthur, and Connor from Yonkers. Our lead singer is from the Bronx.
That's awesome. Now, I mean, how did you all meet? Like, are you from the same neighborhood? Did you go to school together? At least the three of you.
Well, I've had the pleasure of knowing Chris since third grade. We went to school, like we were 15 minutes from my house, and we just always kept in touch. As far as Connor, before like he had joined the band, he was just my barista, and every time I walk into his coffee shop, he was playing one of our songs. And so when lineup changes came, it was like right after he bought some guitar equipment off me. And then he was like, "Yeah, do you know anyone looking for a guitarist or like a band?" And I was like, "Nope, sorry, dude." And then I think a month went by and we were having some lineup switch arounds, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, I know a guitarist." And I hit him up and he just seemed to fit right in. As far as the rest of that goes, I'll let Chris take it.
Chris, please.
Yeah, this started with me and Ryan. He invited me to when I was younger, when I was like 16, he invited me to work on a project he had in the Bronx. And we did that for a little bit. And then when that kind of ended, it was kind of like a year before we started up again. He kind of just hit me up and he's like, "Hey, do you want to make music again?" And that's how it kind of started.
That's
eventually
awesome.
We enlisted Arthur and then Connor.
I mean, I met you guys at Jimmy Ryan's when Alex Bondarev put together a show there last summer. And
yeah.
It was funny because I had mentioned on either Facebook or one of the social media outlets that I was going to play that show, and my friend Carlos said, "Oh, you've got to introduce yourself to Arthur. He's a great dude."
Oh.
So that was the night I met you, like in person. And then that same night, like minutes after I met you, Crystal sent me a text message and said, "Did you meet Arthur yet?" So apparently the music scene is a much smaller world than most people realize.
Honestly, like that's super nice to hear, because I'm always worried that I'm just a mean person. And I don't remember getting I think we got a text message for that show. Or did you take that, Chris? I can't remember specifically how we got onto that show, but I was super grateful we did, because obviously it was for a beautiful cause. We had a lot of fun doing it, and it's like, I feel like we're not in the Bronx a lot, and they're both great people, especially Crystal. Like, Crystal is just super like nice and just polite all the time. She's always willing to lend a hand and stuff like that, especially in times like this, is beautiful. But yeah, thank you guys. If you guys are watching this, Scenes from the Underground rips.
I'm curious. I'd like to know, you told me how you guys formed up, but like where have you been so far?
I am a huge fan of Drake Bell and like really emo stuff. And we won the Battle of the Bands in 2017 to perform on the Pleasantville Music Fest, and like Blues Traveler was on it. Circadian Rhythm, some really cool guys. and that's definitely one of them. It's Drake Bell as well. We played with Drake Bell at the Kingland. I want to say 2018.
I think it was 2018. Yeah.
Yeah. So in 2018, he played nothing but Nickelodeon songs and covers, which was super nostalgic for me.
Right.
And let me think. Is there anything else? We did our first extensive run to Florida too last summer, which is probably one of my favorite things. We went with our buddies and another astronaut who are also based out of the Bronx. And we've been playing shows with those guys for a minute. So those are my top like three.
Those are good
Chris?
ones.
Yeah, no, that's a pretty good top three. I wouldn't think that's a good one to go with. We played Garcia's a few times, which is always kind of cool.
Now you mentioned the tour, and that reminds you guys did a tour. Was it of like Western and Northern New York earlier in the year or late last year?
This year we've done two runs. We did a weekend run with the guys from Bloom and Cold Climate. Bloom is members of Transit, and Cold Climate is members of the Wonder Years. And then we did a run. Do you remember where that run in Ohio was to? I'm blanking right now.
Oh, we kind of just went out. I think we went to Ohio and back, right?
We did Buffalo. We did PA. We did like a string of shows.
Yeah.
But those were the two we did this year. None of them were just around the New York area, but I think if memory serves correctly, you're probably thinking of the latter, the one where we started in Buffalo and like went down to Ohio.
Yeah, I think I saw like a Niagara Falls picture or something like that.
Yeah,
that sticks in my head.
Definitely that run.
Okay, got it. Now, are you guys? I'm not trying to get all your industry secrets here, I swear. But do you guys do all your own booking? Are you like your own management company as well?
For the most part, I know Chris is really good with a lot of businessy stuff. I am not nearly as good with it. He has like a degree in the whole thing. I dropped out of college to pursue my rap dreams. This being my rap. I handle a majority of, if not all of the booking.
And I mean,
so it's all like a homebrew kind of thing.
As you can probably tell, I'm more the quiet one. Arthur is the network guy. That man makes friends with everyone.
He seems to be that way. Yeah, that's a good thing though. It's a good guy to have on your team.
Oh, definitely.
I'm not that guy. I presume as musicians, you also go to shows a lot. And I wanted to know what some of like the best shows you've been to, whether that's small venue, local bands, or like MSG sellout arena kind of thing.
Chris, you go first.
I guess if you got to go, who's like one of my favorite bands to see live all the time, it's got to be Every Time I Die. Always puts on a great show. One of my favorite shows. We saw them. Me and my girlfriend saw them on a cruise. It was just like a 2-hour cruise that goes out to the Statue of Liberty and then comes back. Yeah, that was amazing. If we're talking more like local bands, though, I always personally love going to see Another Astronaut from the Bronx. They always put on a great show. I personally don't enjoy going to like big arena shows or anything where like you're packing thousands of people into one spot. I kind of just don't. I never really enjoyed that too much.
It can be a little overwhelming.
Yeah, I've always been more into like the local bars. Maybe some bigger bars and clubs, but still like to keep it local.
I mean, the bigger shows at not bigger, but like Bowery Ballroom and like the Gramercy Theater, like the Irving Plaza, those kind of venues are perfect for a show, in my humble opinion.
Yeah.
But seeing Muse at MSG wasn't a bad thing. Not gonna lie.
Oh, of course.
But Arthur, how about you, sir?
Some performances that have really stuck with me. Fall Out Boy and Paramore. They did the Monument Tour like years ago. That was a really good show. It was a big arena show, and I'm not fond of those. I was in the nosebleeds watching them from a TV, but even at that, I was like, from a TV, I was like floored. I was like, this is nuts. Let me think. There's this local bands from Buffalo called the Burkharts, and those guys,
they're great.
I don't even. They're so good. Like they just have so much fun, and it it radiates. Like
That's awesome.
they're like on each other's backs, flipping over amps and stuff, and they like get into performances. They always have like cool outfits or something, and it's fun to see like people still have fun with it. Also want to say Knocked Loose and Counterparts. Don't know if you follow heavier music at all, but Knocked Loose played Webster Hall like back in November. Same for Counterparts.
Okay.
But it was Gramercy Theater for Counterparts. And like I bumped into Connor at that show. Like I didn't know Connor who was our guitarist. I had no idea he was going to be at that show. And so I'm up in the balcony and I'm looking down and I'm staring and I'm like, that looks like Connor. And he's like front row, no earplugs. And there's like a guy doing like spin kicks. I'm like, Connor's going to die. And I'm like trying to text him. I'm like, yo, you should watch your head. And he texted me after the show like, yeah, man, I didn't even see you. I got hit. It was nuts. And I'm like, yeah, well, I tried to warn you. So
you tried.
And then Counterparts, just good energy. Like both of those bands, just really good energy and really good like crowd interaction and all that. I could go on for hours about this. Those are my tops right now. I think offhand, like just off the top of my head, I'm running with those.
There you go. So that's why I asked the question, though. I figure you ask that of musicians, you're going to get some good answers. What would you say the biggest day you guys had? You know, maybe you just had good news, like you got picked up to play a certain show with a band that you were hoping to get on.
Personally, the biggest like kind of eye-opening setup experience was definitely when we played the Pleasantville Music Festival. We knew it was going to be a cool thing because it was an all-day festival with like a lot of bigger artists. But when we got there and like it was the first time we had a lot of people helping us set up, and we had so much equipment that we were just allowed to use. We didn't have to bring our own stuff, you know.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it was just like, it was a new experience, you know. It was kind of like the most professional show that we played at that time.
I think one of my favorite parts of that was the fact that we had our own hangout area, and then we had like free alcohol and food for the day. I was like, what? And I think at the time I wasn't just turning 21. I think I might have actually been 22, but I was still like heavy into alcohol. So I was like, whoa, you get to drink this? Like, there's no price? And they're like, no, it's for the bands. And I was like, oh my goodness, thank you so much, you godsend. We've played it before, but I think this time around it definitely hit like how significant the venue was, because the first time we played Garcia's at the Capitol Theater, I think we were just supporting, like, I think we were there with our buddies in American Pinup.
Those guys are awesome.
I love them. They're phenomenal people, lovely. My friend AJ plays guitar in that band. He also plays in Shakeout. Shout out to both those guys. But it was really cool because coming up, like, we were still, when we were younger and we still were, I guess, trying to get our foot in the door. I had been to Garcia's, but it didn't seem like much to me. But then we dropped our EP there, and we got like Lagunitas Brewing Company to host it, and we packed the place out. It was that time where I was like, this is like a bigger venue, because they wanted obviously, with most venues, they want you to bring a certain amount of people out. But it's just like seeing the feedback we had gotten, like, hey, do you want to come to this show? Because you know what it's like when you're trying to push a show. It's like, hey, I got tickets. If you can swing by, usually, oh yeah, I'll get back to you on payday. And it's like you never hear from the person. But it's like we didn't have to do that at all. It was just, the turnout was great, and knowing the other bands that have played there, it's like bands that I wouldn't consider us on par with. So the fact that they would host something like that for us, I was like, this is ridiculous.
And I love that venue too, because even though it's such a small, like, rectangular room, it always sounds good in there too.
Oh, it always sounds great.
Actually, you mentioned something a second ago that I wonder about. Like, would you consider that like the biggest like brick wall as an upstart musician is the idea of bringing people to the show? You mentioned, and you put it perfectly, where, you know, hey, I've got tickets, or I've got a show coming up. Do you want to come on out? Oh, I'll get back to you on payday. And then you never hear back from them.
So personally, the way I feel about it is when we started, it wasn't hard. It was kind of like easy, just like, oh, I'm in a band now, come watch us play. And like everyone would kind of come, and like it didn't feel weird because like we were just starting out, and it was just like, it felt like the right thing to do. But it kind of, I see what you mean about it being a brick wall once you've been trying to do it for a few years.
Yeah.
Because then it's like, you kind of get in the run of like, I got to ask people again, you know, I got to ask the same groups of friends. And that's when like, you kind of got to branch out and start building more of a scene around it rather than just inviting your friends to stuff.
Exactly.
And I'm like really happy that Yonkers is starting to have that scene where like, we don't necessarily have to hit up the same groups of people in our phones to come to a show. It kind of just spreads around itself, and you see the same like now we're starting to see people at our shows that I've never met before.
Oh, that's
that
awesome.
Just, you know, they're in the scene and they kind of want to come see us, and that's kind of like, it's kind of getting nice.
Yeah, I bet. Well, what places in Yonkers? I mean, I didn't know that there were places in Yonkers that had live music that weren't cover bands.
Well, there's a new place in South Yonkers called Margaritas that seems to be the hot point. They definitely have a nice floor space, and they have a sound guy and all that stuff just ready to go. They're not one of those venues that are like, we don't want any heavy bands, or we only want this kind of music. They're pretty accepting. Same for Barney McNabb's on Tuckahoe Road.
That place is still around?
Yeah.
They're real nice guys. Yes. They're real accepting of just like every single band. It's like, you want to book something, hey, hit up the owner. And even the bartenders are usually super helpful. They're like, yeah, no, he's not in tomorrow. Come back Thursday at 6. He'll be here. He usually runs late. And I'm like, wow, that's good to know. Thanks. And then we've had like some one-off things that we've hopped on. Like our old practice space, rest in peace. We used to just kind of like throw shows in there, even though, you know, we really weren't supposed to.
What was the practice space?
It was there's a Yoho artist studio, kind of in like South Yonkers-y. It's off Nepperhan Avenue. But my boy AJ, he had a spot called the Donk that was there, like, which was like a DIY spot. It was like you could practice there, you could throw shows there, and I think, unfortunately it's not around anymore, but there was like a hot period where we were just doing shows there it felt like we were just doing shows there, and I was completely okay with it because we always got a fair turnout, and he'd always get like a solid touring act to come through. And he was like, hey man, I got this alternative band, this Float, now for lack of a term, but does Float want to hop on and talk it over? And then we just walk right next door. It was beautiful. Yeah, there's some little spots in Yonkers that we kind of like, we're not supposed to do this, so we're going to do it this one time, because all like younger kids, they're in high school, and they're like, oh, we just want to see some live music. And that was what I wanted when I was in high school, but I was like, Yonkers is whack. We don't have anything. I need to move to the city.
Yeah. And now the city's got nothing either.
Yeah, now it has nothing. Back then, I felt like I was going to a show every weekend. I was going to see some really bad metalcore band that I'll still defend.
That's awesome. I didn't realize Yonkers had such an up-and-coming kind of scene, which is nice to hear, because I know that way back before my time, it had a little bit of a scene, and then it seemed to have tapered off around the time I started playing in bands. So it's nice to hear that it's so close to home now.
Yeah.
It's great. It's great. We just have like the same, and it's the same. You can tell, it's like what Chris said before, kind of piggybacking off that thought. It's there are new people each time. Something I've noticed is a lot more popular now is the fact that we're doing specific shows for a genre. It's like we'll have like a heavy band, like singer or something, and it's like it's all inclusive, and people all come out for one. They'll obviously come out for one act, but they'll stick around and watch everyone else, because it's like, oh God, I don't have to drive to the city to see some music. Thank the Lord.
You see, that's tremendous, because I find one of the hardest things to do is to get a group of people to come out to a show and then actually not be a bunch of douchebags for the rest of the night. Because you show up there, your slot's at 9 o'clock, there was a band at 8 o'clock, they brought 35 people, and then as soon as they're off the stage, the place clears out, and your 6 friends are in the room, plus the bartender. And, you know, and no matter how much, like, in the same genre the booking agent decided to make the show, or how eclectic they decided to make the show, it doesn't matter. If you're not there for that band, you're not sticking around for them.
Like, and definitely I agree with that, especially when it comes to the city. I feel like in most places we play in other states and other towns, I feel like, and I love New York City, but every time we play a show there, it's exactly what you said. The place clears out after the band brought the people they brought, and then it clears out. And I don't know why New York City does that so much.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, and it doesn't matter if you're like at the bitter end or if you're, I don't know, can't think of another venue. Oh, Orleans, that's another great one.
Yeah.
Great sound, great venue, great vibe. But if they didn't come to see you, they're not sticking around. And I find that so strange in a city like New York.
Yeah, I agree.
I can't give you a reason. It's super frustrating though, and I don't understand why it's a thing, but I've noticed everyone's excuse seems to be the work thing. It's like, oh, I have work in the morning. I'm like, it's Friday night at like midnight. What do you mean you have work in the morning? And it's like having people stick around. I try to give them incentive. I feel like that just works really good. I'm like, hey, so what's your favorite band? And they're like, oh, I love Imagine Dragons. And I'm like, oh, well, guess who's playing an Imagine Dragons cover? And then we don't. And we don't do that. We don't
That's
do
brilliant.
That.
I got to start lying to people that way.
Do it. Try it. I'm telling you, it works.
Would you consider yourselves a professional band? And let me give the caveat here. I used to play with a drummer who said he was a professional musician, but he was my drummer, and we were certainly not a professional band who would play shows every couple of nights and actually earn our living from it. That's professional. So whether it's supplementing your income or it is your main source of income, would you consider yourselves a professional band?
Chris, do you want to go first, or should I?
No, you can go first.
I do not think we are professional musicians, but I do think to some extent we are successful musicians.
That's a good answer. I like that.
I texted Chris the other day out of the blue, because obviously with everything going around right now, we're all just like, oh, I miss shows. We can be more productive. The obvious band banter. I was watching Bridesmaids with my mom, and there's a scene in Bridesmaids where one of the characters is like, hey, just because you don't make money at it doesn't mean you're not successful at it. And I was like, that is genius, because that's 150% true. I've had one of my, I think, favorite things or to reference or just think back whenever I'm feeling down about where I'm at as a musician, or if I feel like I should be further along, is like I went to my first Vans Warped Tour in 2013. No, 2012. I'm sorry, in 2012, and it's like we did a weekend run with bands I watched play to a sea of people, and it's like bands I like. It's not like a band I just message just for the sake of, hey, you guys are bigger, let's steal your like I genuinely like these bands. And it's like, I think professional musicians, it's such a loose term. Everyone's got such a different interpretation of what a professional musician is, but I don't think you should measure it off of that. I think it should be measured off of how happy you are, and if you're proud of what you have to show for the experiences you made along the way.
That's beautifully said. I think that's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, and like to piggyback off that, like I used to think that, being a professional musician, it gets to a point where you become one. But I definitely think there's no like you are or aren't. It's something that like you're constantly working towards. You're constantly getting better. You're constantly, trying to become more professional. And I don't think it's something you necessarily ever really get to. It's kind of just like something you get better at and work towards.
I mean, that's a good point. And to piggyback off of that for a second, I think that it's changed so dramatically in just the last handful of years too, where you were trying to break out of the sea of people who wanted to be a musician, and now there really is no professional in the sense that you need a label anymore. You don't need that. You can put yourself out on Spotify and have a YouTube channel and be an influencer, and somehow with the beat you made in your basement, you're a millionaire.
I've noticed the trend of like a lot of bands breaking away from labels, actually, like and just doing things independent, just because they're like, you know what, like we make more money doing it this way. Yeah, I have to work a job on the side, and that's fine because I can tour however much. And that's my outlook on it. I'm like, I hate both my jobs, but this is the only reason I can go on tour, and that's when I have the most fun. So I'm gonna put on a fake smile. I'm gonna bag these groceries and go on tour.
In the words of Bill Hicks, let me slap on a smile and plow through this bullshit one more time. That actually seems like a really good segue into day jobs. And you mentioned you have two, Arthur, so please.
I do. I manage a Zoomies in White Plains. Most people, I thought it was like a common knowledge thing that everyone had shopped there. For people who don't know, or if you don't know, Nick, it is a clothing/skate shop. Just picture Urban Outfitters with skateboards and sneakers, and that's it. And I work at a Trader Joe's as well. The former is closed. Trader Joe's is obviously hectic right now, but I work with lovely people. I just hate labor. I'm very, very lazy. I'm very lazy. Chris can tell you because we've worked together. It's atrocious. He'll be struggling, and I'll watch like, yo, you got this, bro. Stay strong. And he's like, can you help
that
me?
sounds
I'm
like the typical
not.
drummer, rest of the band situation right there.
Oh. And
yeah,
Chris?
Arthur is he's one of the most hardworking musician people I know, but he's probably one of the laziest workers I know to work with. It's a fun little combo.
And then what do you do? Because I'm done. I only have two jobs.
I only have two jobs. Only.
Well, with quarantine life, I am professionally unemployed.
And loving it, I'm sure.
I was a server and bartender at Alamo Draft House.
And I'm sure that allows for... See, and that's another thing. When you talk to musicians about their day jobs, you realize that they have the jobs they have because it allows for the flexibility and scheduling to do certain things, like rehearse on a consistent basis and then do weekend tours and that kind of thing. So then, last question for you guys. I know you've got to jump in a minute, but where are you going? Like, what's the end game? What's the plan for the future, for lack of a term?
Well, for me, I honestly don't have an end goal or like something I'm striving to achieve where I can be like, hey, I did it. All right, I'm done. It's just obviously like these guys are my closest friends. They're my best friends, and I just want to see as much as I can and do as much as I can with them while I can. There isn't like a specific show or like festival or anything. We get to travel. We have great memories from tour. We have great memories from before that. Like, and that's all I want. I just want to keep having those.
Yeah, I mean, with everything going on right now, I'm just dying to play a show again, and it seems like it's going to be a while before that happens. But you know,
you prompted another question, and then I quickly forgot it because that's how my head works.
It's okay. That's some lady asked me how I was doing the other day at Trader Joe's, and I said, "Have a nice day." And she said, "No, what? You're not." I was like, "Bad, good." It was really bad. I was tripping over words. She was really pretty though. That's why.
Well, that'll do it every time. I mean, when I say endgame, I maybe that was obviously that was the wrong word because, as we mentioned a little while ago, the goal of a musician at this point isn't necessarily to land that label contract. Not that any of us would ever say no to it, but that's not the goal at this point. And what I think, Arthur, you were saying it pretty eloquently. Like, you're not looking for that one show or that one venue to play at, where you put the cap on it and call it done. I don't think, musicians being kindred spirits, I don't think you'd ever call it done. But I thought maybe there was, you want to have a show where you headline, where X number of people buy to sell out the venue, that kind of thing. Like little things like that. And I don't mean MSG.
I think, well, geez, let me revert now because now I got to process some more. But
honestly, I think a nice little, like, not end game goal, but like a real nice milestone I would personally like to reach would be like playing to a show of people that I don't know, but know us, if that makes sense.
Makes 100% sense. Yeah.
Like I would love to just play a sold out show where everyone came to see us and it's just, I don't know anyone there. It'd be kind of comforting.
Yeah.
And, we've definitely played shows like touring and like playing with other people where we don't know a lot of the crowd and they seem to like really like us. And like, some of them have even checked us out and, came for us. But like, it would be nice to just do like a real packed show and not know anyone there.
Yeah, that sounds like a good night there.
I think a nice milestone for me, and this is a little extensive, but I would like us to hit all four corners of the country and definitely start playing overseas. I would love to go to the UK. Never been. I'm a big fan. They have really good music. That'd be a nice milestone for me. Yeah.
Are you guys like on Spotify? Are you out there getting plays and streams and that kind of thing?
We are. Spotify, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Apple Music. Chris, is there anything I'm forgetting? Because he also music business stuff.
He's the guy.
Sorry, our music's kind of in this weird spot right now because we just switched distributors. But you will find mostly everything on Spotify, Apple Music, all that kind of stuff.
Who were you using and who did you switch to?
We were using Ditto Music and we switched to DistroKid.
I use DistroKid also. They're pretty awesome.
Yeah, DistroKid seems much better.
We've been on Distro for like 4 days now, and it's already miles better than Ditto.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Like, we haven't even gotten a full weekend. We're like, this is genius. Why were we on Ditto? What sense does that make?
Yeah, I mean, DistroKid, the guy or the company is just completely on top of it all the time.
Definitely recommend.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much for doing this. This was a real pleasure for me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having us. We had a whole lot of fun. I enjoyed this. I've never done anything like this, so this is my first video.
Yeah.
Thing. But also, I really like that X-Files poster in the back. I've been staring at it the whole time.
Thank you.
Props for that.
I'm a giant nerd, so it's all.
You and me both. Let's hit Midtown after this. Let's grab a coffee, hit Midtown, talk it up.
I did originally what I wanted to do before quarantine life happened is I wanted to learn either a cover song or something and actually play it with the band as like a background member, like harmonize with the singer or something like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I wanted to make a part of the show and then like release it as like a secondary video kind of thing. So when this is all over, if you guys would be okay with it, I'd love to actually have that chance to do that in person with you.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
It would be a lot of fun for me. I don't know about you guys, but... But
150% up for it. Yeah.
I appreciate that. Thank you. But on that note, gentlemen, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. And I will hopefully see you on a stage soon.
Stay safe. Wishing you the best. Thank you for everything.
Be safe.
Yes, be safe. Thank you.
All right. That's the show.